Okay, so we're looking at 7-8, which is factoring polynomials by grouping. We have already, I taught you how to factor trinomials that require grouping. So this is eliminating the first step in that process, and we're just going to start setting up our polynomials with groups. So step 1, separate your polynomials into 2 groups. So we're just going to separate them like this. And then step 2, determine the greatest common factor of each group of 2 terms. So in this case, our greatest common factor is 2x squared. So the greatest common factor between 2 and 12 is 2, and x cubed and x squared is x squared. And then the greatest common factor between 3 and 18 is 3, and we can't factor out a variable there. Okay. So then we have our greatest common factor on the outside of the parenthesis, and then we go ahead and divide. So 2x cubed divided by 2x squared is x. 12x squared divided by 2x squared is 6. And then our 3 goes on the outside. 3x divided by 3 is x. 18 divided by 3 is 6. And we can see here that our 2 factored out terms are the same, which is the goal.
That's it.
Well, no, our final answer would be
2x squared. Oh, yeah, plus 3 and x.
Yeah. All right, let's do example 2.
Are we ahead of last year's class?
I don't know.
As if we are, convinced different.
Oh my goodness, let me think about it. All right, here we go. We're going to set up our 2 groups. We're going to factor out the GCF on both groups. So the greatest common factor between 15 and 40 is 5. And between x cubed and x squared is x squared. And the greatest common factor between 3x and 8. Anyone know what that is? Not 2. 3 isn't divisible by 2 either. 1. If you do not see a greatest common factor in this step, you're just going to factor out a 1. Okay. So now your GCF goes on the outside. 15x cubed divided by 5x squared is 3x. 40x squared divided by 5x squared is 8. Then your GCF of 1 comes on the outside, and you're left with 3x plus 8. Yes. Yeah, that's fine.
So I have 15x squared on the GCF of that one.
Well, 40 isn't divisible by 15. So then you have 5x squared plus 1 times 3x plus 8. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead and do example 3. Set up our groups.
Do we do the parentheses around the negative?
Yes. Remember, if your first term starts with a negative, you're going to factor out the negative. Okay, so the GCF between 2 and 12 is 2. Between x cubed and x squared is x squared. And the GCF between a -5 and a -30 is a -5. So the GCF goes on the outside of the parentheses, so 2x squared times, and then you simplify 2x cubed divided by 2x squared, x, 12x squared divided by 2x squared is 6. Now on the second term, I'm taking out a negative because my first term here is negative. So -5x divided by -5 is just a 1x or x. And negative 30 divided by negative 5 is a positive 6. So then, yeah, 2x squared minus 5 times x plus 6. And remember, you could go back and check your answer. What? You could go back and check your answer by distributing to see if you end up where you started with, because that would be your goal. Okay, we're going to do this last example together, and then I'll let you work on the practice. So we're going to group these. Okay. Anyone know the greatest common factor here? 9. So 9x squared. And what about the next one? Negative 4. Our GCF goes on the outside of the parentheses. And then 18x cubed divided by 9x squared is x. No, 2x. And then 45x squared divided by 9x squared is positive 5. Then our next GCF is negative 4. Negative 8x divided by negative 4 is 2x. And negative 20 divided by negative 4 is a positive 5. So then we can put that together. 9x squared minus 4 times 2x plus 5. All right. Any questions about any of those? Okay, I want you to go ahead and do practice 1 through practice 4 on your own. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the practice problems. So go ahead and check those. Here's the first 3. And then the last one.
First, like how to put the numbers that they get multiplied by, and then sum. Like for example, you put this, for example, number 4, first and 9x squared, and then the negative 4, and then next to it, it will be 2x plus 5, but it doesn't matter which one goes first.
The one that has the higher exponent. Yeah.
Is it the same exact thing on the back?
No, there's one step in addition to this one. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and go to the back. So on this side, what you're going to do is you're going to factor out the GCF first before you do any other factoring. Okay, so if you look at this whole thing, what is the greatest common factor?
4x.
Yeah, so on all of these, you're going to factor out a 4x. Okay. So when you do that, you end up with 4x times x cubed minus 2x squared plus 3x minus 6. Now you will do everything that we did on the front page, on the front side. So we'll go ahead and set up our groups like this. I'm just going to put my parentheses right there. And we factor out the GCF. In this first group, it's going to be x squared. In the second group, it's going to be 3. Now, the one thing that you need to remember is don't forget to include that GCF from the beginning in your final answer. So I always bring it down with me. So I'm going to bring down the 4x and I'm just going to put it in a parentheses. And I continue factoring like normal. My GCF x squared goes on the outside of the parenthesis. And then I divide. So x cubed divided by x squared is x. 2x squared divided by x squared is a negative 2. Then I bring my GCF of 3 down and divide. 3x divided by 3 is x. -6 divided by 3 is a -2.
Wait, so after you get to there, what do we do with the 4x?
We keep it. We just keep bringing it down. Now I'm gonna show you what to do with it. So now 4x goes on the outside of the parenthesis. And you have x squared plus 3 times x minus 2. Okay. One thing that you can do is if you end up factoring everything and you get down to the bottom and you realize that you didn't factor out a GCF that you should have, just factor it out at the bottom. Okay. So let's do this one. What's the GCF on this one? 5x, yes. So we're going to take a 5x. And go ahead and divide all of these. Once you do that, set up your groups. And determine your GCF. Factor that GCF out. And then you can write your final answer. All right, before we go to do the bottom 4, I want you to go ahead and do practice 5 and practice 6 on your own. Example and practice 7 and 8 are a little bit different, so do those first. Okay, I'm going to show you practice 5 and practice 6. I'm going to check your answer. Are there any questions on this? Okay. All right, so example and practice 7 and 8 are just kind of practice for what we've already gone over, just as a reminder. So we may only do a couple of them, but the first thing that you have to do on these is factor out your greatest common factor. So what is the greatest common factor here? Let's see. Huh? 9? Yes. 9x. So we're going to take out a 9x here. So we have 9x. Then we have x squared minus 10x plus 16. Now, this is going back all the way to the first lesson in factoring. Do you guys remember how to factor this?
Yeah.
No? We have to factor a trinomial. You remember, David? Well, the square root actually won't work on this one. Because if you have x minus 4 times x minus 4, you get a negative 8x in the middle, not a negative 10x. So this would be a good example of how that doesn't work. But were you going to say something, Avery? Okay, we're going to find factors of 16 that add up to a negative 10. So positive 16 that get us a negative 10. You know what those two factors are? Yep, 2 and 8, and they both have to be negative. So -2 times -8 is a positive 16, and then -2 plus a -8 is a -10. So in this case, our answer is 9x times x minus 2 times x minus 8. What? Yes, that is the answer. Okay, let's look at example 8. What's our greatest common factor here? Oh, wait, no, there isn't a greatest common factor. Oh, it's x, you're right, it's x.
Oh.
So we're gonna take out an x. Okay, so now what do we do? Yeah, you have to multiply 6 times 15, right? And you get 90. And then you have to find factors of 90 that give you, that add up to 19. 9 and 10. Now,
How do you get 9?
6 times 15. We're going back to the very
Oh.
beginning. So. It's 9 and 10, but we can't put it in parentheses like we did up here. Why can't we do that? What's different with this trinomial than with this one?
There's a number.
Yeah, there's a coefficient here other than 1. So we're gonna set this up by grouping. So we have x times 6x squared, we bring this down, and then we replace the 19x with our 9 and our 10. So plus 9x plus 10x plus 15. And now we can solve by grouping. So once we get to this point, we're going to factor out our GCF. Okay. And we keep our x, we don't forget about it. We have 3x, so 6x squared divided by 3x is 2x. 9x divided by 3x is 3. Bring down our GCF. 10x divided by 5 is 2x, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay. Now I do want you to go ahead and do practice 7 and practice 8. And then we'll finish this lesson. So go ahead and do those 2 on your own.
Yeah.
Come on. All right, these are the 2 practice problems if you want to check your answers. And that concludes lesson 7-8. Make sure you check Canvas for what your homework assignment is.